Hello everyone again. Now we're done with our steps. So the next thing to do is to time out our steps. So as you can see, I have every pose kind of mapped out, and most of them are on the 10s. You'll notice I threw in a few in the middle on the 5s, and that's a corrective step. So just to talk about that briefly, as you notice, if I go to select hierarchy here, and you'll notice down here below I have stuff on 120 and then I made 130, but then I thought I should really get something in the middle on 125. Those are called breakdowns, and I did them a little early, but what I will do is I will show you how to do that next. I'm going to go through timing first, and I'll show you then how to attach an object to your character, and I'll show you how to add extra poses, which you're going to want to do. All right. But today we're talking about timing. So we have our storyboard. We've done our little storyboarding, right? And then we set up our thing to do steps, and then we made steps, and that's where we're at. Now, our steps are exactly 10 frames apart for the most part, or they're 5 frames apart. But not every pose is going to be a half second apart. Remember, it's 24 frames a second, so each pose is about a half second apart. So sometimes you're going to want a pose to last longer. Sometimes you're going to want a pose to last shorter, or be faster, right? So we're going to be on the dope sheet, and you're going to fix frames that aren't on the 10s, and that's what we're going to do first, is just kind of polish it up a little bit, and then we're going to move the keys, right? This is actually a rather quick step if you get the hang of timing, but I want you to experiment. I want you to see if something being faster together looks better, and you might want to slow it down. Let's just remember one thing here. Closer means faster, further apart means slower. So the further apart I have my keys here, the further apart I have my keys down here, the slower his poses will be. So let's take a look at all that. All right, first thing, for the dope sheet, I talked about this before, but I'll remind you again, you can change the layout of your character. But first, if you like using the dope sheet as a separate window, you go up here to Window, Animation Editor, Dope Sheet, right? And what that dope sheet will have is once I select the hierarchy, it will show me every keyframe I've ever done on this little tick graph. And this will help keep stuff organized, and it'll help me move stuff around. So the dope sheet is a very nice and efficient way to move stuff around. Now for right now, I only have to pay attention to the blue line. Later we're going to pay attention to all these little details down here. But for right now, I am just going to pay attention to this top line. So I can actually make my dope sheet this small, but I like to double check that I have everything selected. And now I'm going to move that along. The way I like to work is to do a 3-pane split top. So if I go to Panel here, and then go to Layout, 3-pane split top. I like to have my perspective view here so I can move stuff around. I have my locked camera here, and down here to change this to a dope sheet, I go Panel, and I change it Panel, Panel, Dope Sheet. Later I'm going to change it to the graph editor, but for right now, it'll be the dope sheet. And I have my dope sheet right here to look, and I don't need that much. That way it's right next to the timeline too. I don't have to like reach through and find another window. So I highly recommend doing this. Once again, that's Panel, and you change it to Layouts, 3-pane split top, and then you make this one your perspective, 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 this one your camera, this one your dope sheet. You can make these however you want. This is just the way I like to work. All right. So the first thing I wanted to show you was how to fix frames that aren't on the 10. As you notice, as you saw me posing along, you notice, oh, Mr. G forgot to keep everything on frame 20 as I was doing things. And so now he's got this little shuffle happening here. It's a very easy thing on the dope sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in to that level right here. Excuse me. There we go. And so to navigate the dope sheet, it's just like navigating any other window in Maya. So Alt middle mouse click lets me scroll left or right. And then if I wanted to move these keys, so I have them on frame 20, 21, and 22. If I wanted to make them all 20, I'll take the 22 and move it onto frame 20, and I'll take the 21, move it onto frame 20. That way I have one key clean. Now I want to make sure I move the copied cell, or the cell that I want to, the data that I want to have, to the new position. You don't want to go this way, otherwise this will overwrite that. So whatever I move it to will be overwritten. So I'm going to hit the move tool, I'm going to middle mouse click and drag it over to the left. And you notice they disappear. And they're not really disappearing, I'm taking that data and overwriting it over here. So notice I don't have the little tick marks down here, and that's how you can kind of clean stuff up. So I have a nice clean dope sheet. For the most part, it's all in the tens. I think at one spot I skipped. I started to move around timing before I started doing this. So we'll talk timing next. So the next goal is to go take a pass or two through your entire timeline and figure out what needs to happen faster and what needs to happen slower. So if I just play it and we just watch it, he falls. I might want him to fall a little quicker. And then I'm going to call this the Kung Fu pose, where he has his sword drawn like, ah, when his sword is way up like this. I'm going to call this the Kung Fu pose. And I want this to last a really long time. And then this part where he recoils and then stabs, I want that to happen a lot quicker. Okay? So this I want to happen a lot. I want this pose to last. I want it to take a long time, and I've already moved it a little bit, but then the recoil stab I want to happen very quickly, and then this extension I want it to hold for a while. So that's what I'm going to mess with first, and I'll start with the falling. So I'm going to hit A, and that will let me resize this thing. So if I want him to fall quicker, I'm going to take this pose right here. And I'm just going to make sure I hit W or hit the move tool, right? And I'm going to middle mouse click and slide it a few frames over there to my left. And that will bring this action closer to the first pose. Pose 1, pose 2 now happens sooner. Okay? Same thing for his landing pose. I want this to move closer, so I'm going to take this about 3 or 4 frames. And so now he hits the ground. So he hits the ground within 1/4 of a second. Now I kind of want him to hold this grounded pose for a while, and then I like him to lift his head, and that's good. And then he sees the sword, so let's just watch it. He's going to hit the ground and then hold. Okay, actually I want him to hit the ground. I want that to last a little bit longer. So what I'm going to have to do here is it'll be easier for me to just select every single key and slide it over to the right as a group. So I want that to last a little bit longer. I want him to really stick that landing. I want it to show that it hurts. So I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna exaggerate this. So I'll push it to 30. So now he's in this like, ugh, I just landed, I fell hard. And then what's this? Oh, it's a sword. And then he reaches for the sword. Now that should happen a little quicker. So I'm going to take this, I'll take this pose, and I'm going to slide it over to the left. And that's him grabbing for the sword, standing up to grab the sword. And then this is him grabbing the sword right here. Now you notice, this is why I'm not teaching you how to grab objects yet, because you notice the sword disappeared. Because I've messed with the timing a lot. And so now the sword isn't timed with him grabbing it. It disappears before he has it up there. And that's fine. This is why I'm going to teach it to you after you do timing. I have it here just to kind of have the point of this is why you want to do inserting objects later. All right, let's see how that looks. Ooh. And it's still, I make that even slower. I'm going to have him look up, last a little bit longer. So what I want is this one, where he's looking up. I want that to last longer. So I'm going to take everything else and slide over to the right. So he looks up for a little bit, like, oh, I'm going to get that sword, right? And so that pose is much longer. All right, so he looks up, and then he decides to stand up and grab it, and then he's in the Kung Fu pose. So up here, so he goes from here to here, and that takes a long time. I actually want this pose to happen faster, so I'm going to take everything again from here. This is the Kung Fu pose I want to last a long time, but I want him to spring up. He grabs the sword, and I want him to spring up into that, and this is way too much time between it. So to make that happen faster, I'm going to take all those poses and move them closer. And again, I'm just going to play it and test it out. Grab. There you go. So now that Kung Fu pose, the pose I'm calling the Kung Fu pose, is going to be a lot longer. Let's say, I'm going to push it past 100, at least a second. So if that's 82, it's got to be at least 106. I might even go 112. I'm going to move it to 112 just because it's 12. All right. So we're going to take, not this pose. This pose is the one I want to hold. So it's every pose beyond that. So I'm going to take these and move them over to about 112. Now where are those numbers? Those numbers are really tiny down here in the green. But I can just keep readjusting. That's 111. One more to the right. 112. So it goes up, and then recoil, stop. And as you notice, now my timeline here on my dope sheet looks really sprayed out. It's not as even and nice. And that's what you're going for. You want a nice even look. I have one more keyframe here that needs to be kind of overlaid with that one. And I've got that one nice and cleaned up. And so now this is his recoil. So up, recoil, stab. Let's see how quickly that works. Let's see how this all looks now. So notice I'm always checking. Every move I do, I am checking. And I kind of think the recoil is fast enough. So look again. Bam. Good. And I want to hold that first stab some more. Okay? So the recoil I think is fine. If I wanted it a little bit faster, so he steps here, I can make this recoil. No, I like it. And then maybe I can move this guy a little closer. I'll move these a little closer together. Maybe I'll take away the cover. No, it's fine. And then this little pose of him stabbing, I'm going to want to kind of last for a while because he's stabbing someone. Right? So I'll take all these and pull them to the right. And again, he's holding it for 120 to 144-ish. That's a second. I want him to kind of hold it for a second. Let's see how that looks for a literal second. Let's see. Boom. That's pretty good because I do want it to kind of pause. It's a little long, so I'm going to actually shorten it again. I'm going to take it down to like 138 and again check it. It's a little too long again. I'm just going to push it in just a little bit more. All right. So this stab and then recoil again and then swipe, swipe. Now these swipes are 5 frames apart and I think that's going to be quick enough. I might want to make them just a little quicker. Sure. So I'm going to make this stab here. And then these poses as he swipes, I'm going to bring a little closer together just to make them happen faster. So I like the recoil pose. And then this pose is he starts to swipe. And then this is his actual swipe. So I'm going to take this and move it even closer. And then he's swiping. The backswing just happens immediately after. So I'm going to, put that down. And then I'm going to take this guy and swipe it that way. And again, move these all a little closer. So he's really swinging these too fast. Hack, hack. Right? So this happens very quickly. Let's play it and let's see how it looks. It's almost too quick. You can't even see that backswing. And I might need to put that breakdown here. So I'm actually going to take this guy and move it a little to the right because I think it's happening a little too fast. So I separated them out a little bit. There you go. And then I wanted to hold that pose again. This pose, where he's kind of having this long swing afterwards, that's a big swing he just did. I wanted to hold that for like dramatic purposes. So I'm just going to take all of these poses and slide over to the right just a bit. So it really has this extra long, and he holds, and then he stands up. And then I need to add a few more frames to my total down here, just so I can see everything. Maybe even more. Nope. That's just the same, but it's nice to have this extra room. So, stab, stab, step, slice, slice, and then he steps, and he does this thing. And this is a little nod, and I'm going to speed up that little nod and step. So, he swipes his slash, and he steps up, and that's 176 to 186, that's 10 frames apart. Typically a half step is going to take about 12 frames. So I'm going to give this a little bit more room. That's all really, I know when you add some length and time, it really adds some drama. So giving him a nice slow step after he just hacked the guts out of something. That's always fun to do. And then that's his half step, slow half step, and then takes one more set of steps. I'm going to move these, I'm going to space these out too. Take that and move it out. And take that. So with the timing, it's all about experimenting and really seeing how stuff moves and being able to kind of do it over and over again. And this nod here, I want this nod to happen quicker. So I'm just going to take this last little bit and have that nod happen sooner. And you're going to want to keep playing it over and over and over again, just to keep adjusting. Right? So now I think he's falling too fast, so I'll go here and slow that fall down. But I like the slash. It's a nice slow thing, and the head is too quick. So I'm going to take the head nod and space that out a little bit. Something like that. And then maybe he's falling a little too fast. So I'm going to step those out again. So don't be afraid to slow things down, speed things up, experiment, and really get the timing just right. This will really save you a lot of work in the end. All right? And so that's it. So I want you to go through and move the keys on the dope sheet. Remember, closer means faster, further apart means slower, and you want to retime to reflect a more natural movement, more accurate movement, more believable movement. Remember when I say natural, it's all about creating believability. So that's all I've got, and have fun.